BBC Radio London.
It's 2:18. Shay here with you on BBC Radio London. I absolutely love both my guests. They're frantically turning their phones onto silent, bless them. They're doing exactly what is required because, of course, they're live, and I really do appreciate when my guests come in to the studio. Now, of course, this Father's Day is coming up on Sunday, and I thought it was a nice opportunity really to talk about what it's like living, working, and being a dad in London. It's a fantastic project called the Dad Project. It's launched across a whole array of platforms, and it's got a special campaign as well, really encouraging men to share their stories, to support one another. And what I really liked is to embrace that emotional honesty, which sometimes, to be frank, we don't get to hear from dads. Really delighted to say that I'm joined in the studio now with two proud Londoners, founder of the Dad Project, Naroop Jhooti, and also self-proclaimed, this is what he calls himself, Chief Marketing Bloke, Nemash Patel. Great to have you both here. How are you?
Good, thank you for having us.
It's lovely to have you here, Nemash. You doing well as well?
Yes, I'm doing well, thank you.
Firstly, let's have a chat, shall we, Naroop? Because the Dad Project it's a really special personal project for you, isn't it? Can you talk to me a little bit about the antithesis of the idea?
Well, it's going from a project to now an organisation. So
Wow.
it's a mental health organisation. So the idea around the Dad Project stemmed from my experiences when I came out of a long relationship. I found myself being a single dad after a 26-year relationship.
Okay.
And I was looking for resources of, to learn from, but how to be a single dad. What am I in for? What can I learn from other men's experiences? And I couldn't find anything, right? I really wanted like a men's meetup group where I could speak with other men and just talk about the journey ahead of me.
Yeah.
So I couldn't find that. So I had to find my own way to navigate that time.
Yeah.
And it was a difficult time. But through that healing and through that journey, I realized that this topic of men's mental health and men's emotions just aren't covered. There's not enough being said. And I'm a photographer and filmmaker by trade. I've been doing it for 24 years. Now I've got my own agency, Back the Brave. And so making content and telling stories is what I do by nature. It's like driving for me. I can do it effortlessly, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, why not speak to some dads and highlight really inspiring single fathers who are doing amazing things and really leading the way. So I photographed and filmed 8 dads, right? And I just put it out as content on my Instagram. And along came Nemash into my DMs on Instagram and said, Naroop, what are you doing with this? And I said, well, I'm just putting it out on Instagram. And he said, this should be a podcast.
Yes.
So the first 8 episodes were actually just interviews that I did with these dads, not meant to be podcasts at all.
Okay.
And then from there, seeing the success and seeing how people wanted this, there was a real need for this and my ability to deliver it.
Yeah.
I felt like I have to turn it into something much bigger. And so after those 8 episodes, the following podcast episodes are now about mental health in general for men of all ages with different types of guests from dads, but from men who aren't fathers to therapists to coaches to everybody, really telling the story about men's mental health and also just inspiring, encouraging men to be more vulnerable, be more open and to learn from each other. And that's what I've been doing. And
It's
I love
grown,
it.
hasn't it?
It's
How
grown
beautiful.
exponentially. In 6 months, it's gone from me putting some stuff up on Instagram to now 8 people, and really building it and scaling
And
out.
congratulations on that, because it's quite something for you to go through your own personal journey and then think, right, there's a gap here. I need to talk about what is going on for dads. And Nemash, you actually feature in the series as well. Let's hear a little bit about your story. And obviously people can check out the Dad Project, but just share a little bit of your own personal story as a dad.
So I became a single dad 3 years ago. And it's been a kind of a tumultuous time. So I went through a kind of a challenging end to my marriage. So, my mental health was suffering. And so I guess, when Naroop posted that content out, I kind of resonated with it straight away. And it was kind of like, I need to be involved in this. And I think he'll tell you, I kind of badgered him, followed him around, stalked him until he responded. Yeah.
The good news is both Naroop and I know you. You're a decent guy, so it's all right if that's what you're doing. But it's for a really good cause. You don't have to give their names, obviously, but can I ask how old are your children or child?
Yeah, I've got 2 boys, 16 and 17. So
the reason I ask you that is because they're at the age where obviously when dad's talking about them or, their experiences, you're doing this on a global platform like social media. So what's their take been on firstly you discussing being a single dad, but also have they perhaps learned something about you that they didn't realise as a dad?
I think they were shocked initially.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always kind of behind the scenes type of person.
Yeah.
And they knew about the project, and I said I was going to be working on it. But then when I told them I was going to be interviewed, I think that was a little bit of a shock to them. Not in a bad way, but just kind of they were surprised. But
what surprised, if you don't mind delving, what specifically surprised them?
I just think for them, me talking about my experiences and what happened.
Okay.
Because I made a point of when my divorce happened, I made a point of telling the boys that I'm more than happy to tell you anything and everything you want to know.
Right.
But you need to ask me. I'm not going to just tell you because it's not really fair on the mother.
Okay.
And also that's just one side of the story. It's my side.
Right.
And so, you know, that community, they actually declined. They didn't want to know.
Okay.
Which I can totally understand.
And then they see you talking about it on social media, so they're kind of like, no, well, now we know. It's quite something, Naroop, because there'll be some parents, but specifically dads, you know, who still have that deep cultural, maybe English perspective of, you know, stiff upper lip, you just don't talk about it. What has it been like for you meeting with dads like Nemash, who perhaps have a similar journey as your own as being a single dad? Are they really receptive of the stories?
Yeah, what's interesting is because we work with men from different ages and different backgrounds, men who aren't fathers, and just, you know, the interesting thing is I'd like to believe I can create a safe space, right, for a man to talk. So if a man knows that, okay, Naroop has been through a journey, he's had challenges and he's been through it, there's trust that I understand what they're talking about.
Okay.
What happens a lot of time with men is if they don't have someone to trust that they can talk to, they keep it bottled up, because if the listener can't empathize or isn't ready emotionally to even hear the story and doesn't know what to say back, the communication will just get lost. So I try to create a safe space where a man can be open and I can be empathetic, I can listen. And sometimes they don't need advice, they just want to offload their emotional weight. They just want to talk.
What is it like for you as a dad living in London? Is it really difficult to be kind of managing, firstly being single, your own businesses, and then being a father as well? Just talk to me about navigating all of that. I think as a Londoner.
I actually really like it. London's got a lot to do, right? The tricky thing I have is getting my little one out just to come with just me. She's 9 years old, going to be 10 in July, and she's like, Dad, can we bring my mate with me? And she wants another companion there, right? Not necessarily a mother figure, just like a friend. Someone to have a bit of banter with, someone to share the experience with. Right. So that's the only tricky thing I find is, okay, how can I navigate this time where she thinks it's cool to hang with Dad? Because obviously she's at the stage where it's like, Dad, don't hold my hand. You know, like she's doing her thing, right? So I'm adjusting to that. Okay. So that's the only tricky thing. Apart from that, Joe, I actually really like the responsibility of being able to do it all. I take great pride in knowing that I've got this. Like, don't worry.
And do you find within your own social circle, you know, when you decided to firstly create the Dad Project and then start talking about being a single dad, did you receive a lot of support? Was there perhaps any judgment? Did you have anyone saying, nah, you don't need to share all of this? What's that been like for you?
No one said you don't need to share it. I don't think people realise the power of telling stories and of conversation, and how hearing other people's stories can affect other people, right? I just don't think that people realized it. And I think it took maybe my dad's podcast, when I had him on the podcast with me, and all of the family, like across the country, heard it. They understood what was happening, because they could now relate to both men who they're listening to. Right. And they saw, okay, this is a real deep emotional connection where this father, my dad, is really releasing all of his some of the trauma that he's been carrying for 20 years. Because his big thing was when the business that I was working with him in, I started working with him the first year, it went bankrupt. It's a multi-million-pound company. So I saw the fall of my dad's empire. Okay. And he never really processed that, right? And through that podcast episode, father talking to his son, and my dream was to work with him my whole life. 21, I'm working with Dad. I'm going to scale this business even further. For then seeing that crumble, and then actually looking at me saying, son, I found it challenging. This is what I was going through. And me now being 44, so a fully grown man, it was a powerful moment. So when people heard that and they saw that, they realized there is so much power in this, because we all look for really deep, complex ways of overcoming stuff, and really sometimes a conversation is all it takes.
How has it been for you, Nemash, now that, you know, and listening to what Naroop has just shared about his dad, his journey, a lot of people are going to connect with that. Have you had a similar situation with your sons where it sparked a real in-depth conversation now about, you know, some of the raw emotions? You really do open up with Naroop, and credit to Naroop to be able to give you that safe space, but to talk about your mental health and all that you've struggled with. So has that opened that conversation for you and your sons?
It's kind of, it's open, it's put the door slightly ajar. I mean, they're teenagers, so you know, they don't really want to talk much, or tend to grunt at you a little bit. So, but you know, I've been very open with them about, you know, mental health in general, and because I think it's really important. If, as a father, if you can't have those conversations with your children, then you know, who are you expecting to have them?
Right.
So you know, it's more of a softly approach. If I try to sit them down and have a deep and meaningful, they're just going to, the phones are going to come out, or they're going to make excuses.
Switch off.
Yeah, pretty much. So you kind of have to subliminally drop things in and have conversations.
I feel like there's a lot more coming with this. Stay with me, because I've got a couple more questions I'd like to have a chat with both of you, Naroop and Nemash. So I'll continue having a chat with them the next half an hour. If you'd like more details and think, gosh, I've not heard about this project. So whether you'd like to share your story, obviously listen to the podcast, it's the Dad Project chapters.com. You can find more details on the Dad Project HQ, that's on social media, and then it's Naroop, Naroop. So I'll continue having a chat with Nemash and Naroop. But first, it's 2:30. Let's get an update on the roads, traffic and travel now with Billy Reeves.
Thanks, Shay. We have had a serious accident on the M25 in
BBC Radio London.
2:34 is the time, and today on the show I'm celebrating marking Father's Day, and as such I've got two fantastic dads live in the studio. But we're talking about a really beautiful campaign called the Dad Project. If you'd like more details on it, then head to the website. It's the dadprojectchapters.com, and then also the Dad Project HQ. And this Father's Day, it's time to have a listen, to support, empower, and very much check out the podcast. There are also going to be men's meetup groups taking place with the Dad's Project as well. And I'm joined in the studio with the founder, Naroop Jhooti, and also self-proclaimed Chief Marketing Bloke, Nemash Patel, who is very much supporting the project, working the project, and features in one of the podcast series as well. I want to take you both back, if that's all right. Yeah. Firstly, Naroop, you've talked very openly about how life changed for you when you became a single dad. Yep. And that really sparked the idea of the Dad Project. But let's go back, shall we?
Sure.
Those moments when you first held your daughter, what was that like? Daunting? Exciting? Can you just share that moment?
It's funny, actually. I literally put out a video today on my Instagram for Father's Day about that, about the first moments. Literally the journey from then to now. She's 9, going to be 10 soon. I think the first moment I held her, I had a massive change in my perception of everything in terms of responsibility and what my reason and from my very being, like, what am I here for? I'm now here for this child. Like, we created this child, and I am now her father. It's up to me to lead the way. And I've always seen myself as a role model for her, you know. And I think that's why the name, the Dad Project, is a dad has always been seen as a role model, right, for the children. But men of all ages need dads, from 50 years old down to 8-year-olds, and that figure that a dad helps the man through life, right? You look at dad and think, I want to be like him. It's a Superman, right? We've lost that Superman a lot of the time. There's young men who are disillusioned. There's men who are older who had bad relationships with their fathers. Right. There's men who don't know how to be fathers. So what I try to do with that, and learning from my experiences of always wanting to be the best dad I can be, I try to see myself as a role model to now share my experiences with other people through the project. But holding her when she was younger, I still remember editing that video that I put out, just brought me back. So I went through so much content.
Yes.
I had it all. I had it all I was the first person to hold her. I always say to her, Lara, I was the first person to hold you.
How beautiful.
The doctor, the nurse gave you to me, and I held you first. And she's like, all right, Dad, stop being... Her thing is, Dad, emotional. And I'm like, okay, one day you'll understand.
You'll understand.
Yeah.
It's literally what our parents used to say to us, that, isn't it, Nemash? And there is something to be said in the fact that nowadays we are hearing a lot more from fathers, which is a beautiful thing. We're hearing from dads talking about their stories, but I'm also intrigued with the whole concept and idea of what it was like for our fathers, because I think there is a generation there where their voices are lost. How important is it for you now with 2 teenage sons for them to kind of come along on that journey with you as you talk more openly about being a single dad?
I mean, it's like I said before, it's really important that, there's open conversations. I mean, to this day, my dad's 81, we don't have conversations like that. They just don't happen.
Right.
And through this project, I've been kind of thinking back to, deep and meaningfuls I've had with my dad, and I can't really remember any. Probably the most, heart-wrenching one was telling him that I was going to get divorced. And, he just kind of went silent, and it was quite difficult. So it's difficult for him, but that generation they're not particularly in touch with their feelings and their emotions, I don't think. So, it's interesting. I mean, I try and have more conversations like that with my dad now.
Yeah.
But that requires 2 people to have those conversations, and
Sure.
it's a bit challenging.
Thank you for being so honest around that, Nemash. And can I ask you, Naroop, I just wonder through this journey of the Dad Project that there is still sometimes this concept and feeling that actually if you are getting divorced, especially within certain communities, it seemed as if your life is almost a failure. What was that experience like for you when you told your dad, your family? Well, let's focus on dad because it's about dad.
Yeah.
When you spoke to dad about going through, as you said earlier, a 26-year relationship ending.
My dad actually, he didn't put his arm around me and like hug me. He said to me, Naroop, how you handle this will define who you are as a man, right? So handle it with class, with integrity, with strength, right? And with respect, because there's a daughter here. There's a child here in between. And that sat with me the whole time. And I said, handle it with class and respect, and there's no anger, there's no bitterness. Things happen in life, right? And you move forward. But what happens sometimes with men is because they feel so much pain during the divorce because they're not able to express their emotions. They can do things and take actions which can live with them forever. Right. And it's very important at that time to be emotionally aware of what you're doing and how you're acting. So I remember my dad said that to me, and that has changed everything. It literally echoed in my head the whole time for everything I did, every stage. And I thank him so much for that, because that's what I needed to hear.
Do you know something that really resonates with me? Because my mother-in-law, who I call Mum for our listeners, whenever I will talk to her, I mean, I'm very close to my mother-in-law, but I will always use it as an opportunity to say, well, Mum, Sonny, he's done this again and he's not listening. And she'll always laugh at me. So obviously that's her eldest son, her baby. And she'll always just say to me, okay, but just all I'm concerned about is Tyra. And there is this thing, because it does give you a little bit of a reality check, actually, when your parents like, no, you're not the most important person here, okay? Even though you think you are, it's the child. Yep. And sometimes you need a parent or, somebody who kind of can look at the wider picture and say, hold on, think about your child.
Removing ego from it, and thinking about someone else. And that's what's so beautiful about children is if you can't put your issues aside for your child, then what does that say about you as a person, right? And I think that's why it's so important. So, but people do need help with that. Not everyone thinks that way.
Sure. But it's so true. Listen, happy Father's Day, guys. I haven't even said that to you. Happy Father's Day. Plans? Do you know what you're doing on Sunday, Nemash?
My boys have both got exams,
okay.
GCSEs and A-levels.
So we're going to have to park the celebrations and it's all, oh gosh, there must be loads of revision notes at home now.
There's loads of revision going on. I mean, to be honest, at the moment, so they spend their time between mine and their mum's house. Yeah. And during exam times, I've said to them, look, just stay with your mum because it's not really fair on them to have them going between 2 houses and then notes here and notes there. So at the moment, I'm kind of seeing them probably an hour or 2 a week. I see them on a Friday, so I'll go, pick them up and then spend a few hours with them. But so Father's Day probably will be with my father. Oh, well, that's also really beautiful. I hope you get to enjoy that. And what about yourself, Naroop? What are you up to? Well, I think we're going to go Wagamama's. That's nice. That's my daughter's favourite. Okay. So after her tuition, she's got 11 plus coming up. Oh, so, wow. So she knows she's got to do tuition. She's like, Dad, I have to do tuition on Sunday. I'm like, yes, that doesn't change. It's Father's Day, not Lara's Day. Yes, that's true. It's your day. Yeah. Well, I hope both of you have an amazing Father's Day. Come back. I'd really love to follow the journey with the Dad Project. There's a lot happening. Because I appreciate you're going to be starting to do meetups as well in London, aren't you?
you?
Yeah, yeah.
So come back and let's discuss
Of
more. It'd be
course.
really lovely to have you both here as well, Nemash. So let's give details. People can go to thedadprojectchapters.com.
Yep.
You can listen to the full podcast. The podcast is available on streaming platforms, and then
Yep.
it's the Dad Project HQ, isn't
Yeah,
it?
on all socials. Yeah.
On all socials, and also it's Naroop. Thanks
Yep.
again, guys. Lovely having
Thank
you
you
here.
so much.
Thank you for having us.